So this was a puzzle that as soon as I saw it on a swap table, I said, this looks awful, but decided to do it anyway. So this is a pomegranate puzzle showing a painting of the Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco, which used to be one of my favorite places to run when I lived in San Francisco. The challenge with this puzzle, as you can probably see from even the pieces that are just spread on the table, is that all the pieces are basically the same color. So it's based on the image, it looks like everything is this kind of brownish gray, which is not a very fun color and is a difficult color to build too. So I decided to start by pulling the border pieces a little bit. I'm doing some flipping and some border pulling action right now. My thinking on that was a couple of things. One, I'm working on a desk that doesn't have a ton of space on it, and so building the border is sometimes helpful for me for space management, especially when it's like I don't want to wait to build the border and then have the puzzle falling off the desk. So I'm moving some things around in the background and then returning. There are plenty of tea and snack breaks happening in the background of this video. And so what I'm doing is I'm continuing to build the border, and then I noticed a few light colored patches that I built as I went, because my thinking with those was the more patches I could build quickly, the easier it's going to be long term for this puzzle, right? Like I wanted to just reduce the number of sort of same colored pieces I was working with. The next thing I'm noticing is that there is kind of a distinct color of sky. I didn't think it would be really distinct based on the image on the box. I thought the image on the box was going to show a puzzle that all the colors were going to be the same, which is terrible. Instead, I noticed as I was doing the puzzle that there was actually variation in the sky, which was a pleasant surprise. And so, as you can see, I'm grabbing some sky pieces and putting them in. I'm not doing a really good flip, sort, and pull. That's mostly space related. This is not a particularly great table for puzzling on. But you can see too, I'm starting to see some of the sky pieces where it actually borders other parts of the puzzle. So it's helping me build out more of the outline of that sky so I know exactly what I'm working with. And so, as I realized the sky was going to be easier to do, I immediately started gravitating towards it. One, it's easier. Two, it was going to make it much easier to deal with the space. If I had that top sky done, could push it up to the top of the table and then figure out how I was going to do the rest of this this blue-gray mess. So you can see now I'm starting to opportunistically see some things and build them as I see them. You can also see I've sort of oddly pushed the puzzle up. The sky turned out to be a little bit bigger than I thought. I had hoped that it wasn't going to be quite that large. And so I went from, hey, I'm just going to build the sky, to maybe I'll switch over to some other stuff. So now I'm putting together some clusters of pieces, some other bright colored pieces. So yeah, a few things are starting to jump out in terms of the buildings, so I am putting them together. So kind of a note, this is an older pomegranate puzzle, and so the pieces definitely felt a little different than some of the more recent pomegranates I've done. One of the things that I like about pomegranate is they tend to be really pretty final images because they're all, masterpieces. One of the challenges is some of the toughest puzzles I've done have been pomegranate because, of course, they're art pieces, and so it's paintings, and so it's really difficult to see the differentiation in the pieces. And so pomegranate puzzles are not ones that I like to speed run. There's an exception. The Charlie Harper pomegranate series is some of my favorites, and they go really well for speed running because they've got really discrete chunks. But most of the pomegranate puzzles, if I got them in a speed competition, it would just be like well, let's just embrace the suck for a while, maybe go get some snacks. So in this puzzle, what's happened now is I have had to turn on the overhead lights over my desk where I'm puzzling, and that is making it much harder for me to see the distinctions in colors because there's some glare. So the pieces are not super shiny, so it's not so much an issue of shiny pieces, it's just these pieces were really difficult to see the distinctions in anyway, and so any sort of additional hurdles in figuring out where some of the pieces went, yeah. So now you can see some of the whiter parts of the sky, some clouds I've started to put together. Definitely speeding up a little bit. I sometimes casually puzzle and I'm chatting with someone in the background and listening to your podcast, and I'm not really going very fast. Then sometimes I'm like, finish this puzzle, and you get sort of pulled into going much faster. So I think this is a case where I'm starting to go much faster. There we go. I've now just straightened out the puzzle. I've cleared off the pieces on the top, so it's going to be a lot easier. And now I'm starting to see some more distinct shapes, especially towards the bottom of the puzzle. So you can see that there's some sort of like reflection on the water, I think, going on there. I'm starting to see some shapes of buildings. And I'm noticing that most of these dark green trees are clustered around this side on the lower left-hand side. So you see I'm pulling a lot of those pieces and trying them over there. Videos do really keep me honest I jump all over the place, and I need to work on not doing that when I puzzle. It's actually why I actually make these videos, mostly for myself, because this is the best way I find to actually analyze how well I'm doing, because you can tell yourself, well, that was just a really hard puzzle. There's no way I could go any faster. And then you watch and go, I could have definitely gone faster. So here I'm trying to finish up some of that dark green. It would be a good idea, I think, for me to stick with finishing that dark green, actually, which I am not doing. I'm sort of just filling in some random chunks. And this is now moving much, much faster than it was. I'm actually starting to be able to see some of the differentiation in some of the parts of the puzzle now. And the lighting has slightly changed. I believe I have turned on the overhead lights. You can see the reflection of my teacup. And here we are, just racing now to the finish. You can tell how much faster my hands are moving. I'm excited to be done with this one.